Okay. Good afternoon, all. Okay, I welcome you all for this today's session. Now, before starting this today's session, I will summarize yesterday's evening session, what we have discussed in yesterday's evening session. Okay, in yesterday's evening session, we have discussed the concept of time temperature transformation diagram. Okay, that is TTT diagram, which is also known as isothermal transformation diagram, that is IT diagram. And depending on its shape, as it is having C type shape or S type shape, it is also known as C curve or S curve. Then we have discussed this TTT diagram, how it is plotted, how that experiment is conducted, and how this curve is actually plotted. Then after this, we have discussed this TTT diagram for eutectoid steel, hypoeutectoid steel. This is TTT diagram for hypoeutectoid steel, and TTT diagram for hypereutectoid steel, along with the effect of this lesser carbon or higher carbon percentage on the different regions, that is pearlite transformation or binite transformation or martensite transformation, start and finish temperatures or regions. Then after this, we have discussed the concept of critical cooling rate. Okay, critical cooling rate is the rate which just bypasses the nose of this IT diagram or TTT diagram, or which suppresses the diffusion transformation. Okay, austenite gives three transformation products, that is pearlite, bainite, and martensite. Out of these three, pearlite and bainite is formed due to diffusion of carbon. Okay, diffusion is occurring. The third that product of austenite, that is martensite, it is a diffusionless. It is occurring due to some shear mechanism. Okay, and hence the curve which just suppresses the diffusion transformation, that will be termed as critical cooling rate. This critical cooling rate is very useful in the heat treatment processes like hardening that we are going to discuss today. And after this critical cooling rate, we have discussed the next diagram, that is continuous cooling transformation diagram, that is CCT diagram. Okay, and we have compared it with the TTT diagram. Then we have discussed different considered different cooling rates and their microstructure at the room temperature depending on the cooling rate. Okay, then we have started different heat treatment processes which we are using in the different kinds of steels. It may be your plain carbon steel or alloy steels. Okay, in that we have discussed the conventional annealing or normalizing, along with its purpose, processes, okay, and its applications also. Then its types like bright annealing, box annealing, isothermal, spheroidized annealing, in subcritical annealing, which has three different types: stress relief annealing, recrystallization annealing process, or intermediate annealing. Okay, then we have discussed the normalizing. Purpose of conducting annealing and normalizing process is same. Okay, just a temperature regions are different, heating zone is different, and cooling medium is different. Okay, then we have compared these two annealing and normalizing heat treatment processes. Okay, this comparison, up to this we have discussed in the previous session. Now in today's session, we are going to discuss the next heat treatment processes. In that, hardening heat treatment process, along with its different types, then tempering along with its different types, and that we are going to discuss in today's session. And we will try, I will, if time permits me, then I will try to cover one extra point of retained austenite along with its uh, elimination methods like sub-zero treatment. Okay, okay, then we will start this is the little bit summary of previous session and what we are going to discuss in this today's session that I have explained. Now we will start with the hardening heat treatment process. Now For your better understanding here, I will tell you that if you have to start with the purpose of the process. Now, why we are performing or conducting the hardening heat treatment process? This practical we have already completed in our lab. We have completed one practical, that is a study and demonstration of heat treatment processes like annealing, normalizing, hardening. Okay, in that we have chosen different samples, and we have heated that three different samples in the muffle furnace in our lab, and we have heated them in the austenitic region for sufficient time. Okay, heating zone we have provided some soaking time and holding time, and after that we have used three different cooling mediums to cool them. For annealing, we kept one sample inside the furnace itself for very slow cooling. For normalizing, we removed that sample from the furnace and we kept that in the air medium for cooling. And one sample I have removed from the furnace and directly I dipped it into the water. Okay, directly I performed the quenched it into the cold water. This is the hardening heat treatment process. Okay, and what is the purpose of conducting the hardening heat treatment process? Annealing and normalizing, we are conducting it to improve the ductility, machinability, and toughness of that material and to reduce the hardness. Okay, this is the main aim of annealing and normalizing. And what is the main aim of the hardening heat treatment process? Now here, why we are conducting the hardening? Our first aim is to improve its hardness. Okay, to improve its hardness, that is to harden the steel. Here you can read, to harden the steel to the maximum possible level. And here we are in the hardening heat treatment process, we are increasing the hardness of that steel by transforming austenite into martensite. Okay, this is our aim of the hardening, to harden the steel to the maximum level by transforming austenite to the martensite. Okay, or by austenite to martensite transformation. This is for this we are conducting this hardening treatment process. Then another aim, this is second, you can consider it as a second aim. The first aim is to harden it by take by transforming the austenite into martensite phase. That martensite will provide you the maximum possible hardness. And the second aim of conducting this hardening treatment process is to increase the wear resistance and cutting ability of the steel. Okay, as at the room temperature, martensite is present. Okay, carbon will be present in the form of martensite, hence it will give you highest possible hardness along with very good wear resistance, and also it will provide you improved cutting ability in that particular steel. Now after discussing this, we will move towards the process, how this hardening treatment process will be conducted. Actually we have already seen this in our lab. The first step in this conventional hardening treatment process, first is the heating cycle. Okay, now here one point you can easily remember, the heating zone. Okay, heating temperature zone will be same in case of annealing and hardening. Okay, for so why I am telling you this, it will be very easy for you to remember it. Okay, whichever heating zone we have used in the annealing case, that same zone can be used for. Okay, I will show you the diagram. Okay, here. Okay, this is the zone for annealing. Means the steel, if it is a hypoeutectoid steel, it is heated above A3 temperature line, and if it is a hypereutectoid steel, then it is heated above A1 temperature line. Okay, this is the temperature zone for annealing, and same temperature zone can be used for hardening also. But in annealing, we are increasing the temperature above this A3 or above this A1 line, depending on the type of steel, by 30 to 50 degrees Celsius range, above this line by 30 to 50 degrees Celsius. But in case of hardening, we are increasing above 50, compulsory more than 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, if the steel is hypoeutectoid steel, then we are heating it above A3 temperature zone by 50 degrees Celsius. And if the type of steel is hypereutectoid steel, then we are heating it above A1 temperature line by 50 degrees Celsius. This is the heating temperature zone, and we are keeping that sample. Okay, this is the heating temperature zone, heating to above A3 temperature for hypoeutectoid steel and above A1 temperature for hypereutectoid steel by 50 degrees Celsius. Then we are holding that sample in the particular this temperature zone for some definite period of time, depending on the shape and size of the component and composition of that steel. Okay, holding time. If that steel consists of suppose it is a high carbon steel, or it consists of other alloying elements, or carbon percentage is very high, then the holding time required will be more. And if suppose the shape and size is the larger, or some complex shaped component is there, then the holding time automatically increases. And what is the purpose behind providing this holding time? The purpose of providing the holding time is to get the equal temperature throughout the cross sectional area of that component. Means the temperature should be same on the surface of that component, and at the center of the component temperature should be same. It should be equal. That is termed as equalization of the temperature. And another aim is to get the homogeneous austenite. Okay, means throughout that component at that higher temperature range in this region, only austenite phase will be there. To get that homogeneous austenite phase, we are providing this holding time. Then after sufficient holding time, now the third step is cooling cycle. Now we are taking that sample and we are cooling it to room temperature. Sometimes in some specific cases, we have to cool it below room temperature also. And now here, uh, okay, the very important point is in this hardening is that the selection of the cooling rate. Whichever cooling rate you are selecting, that cooling rate should exceed the critical cooling rate of that steel. Okay, it should be more than critical cooling rate. Okay, means critical cooling rate is the cooling rate which just touches the nose of IT diagram, or which just bypasses the nose of that IT diagram. Okay, means you have to do the faster cooling than that critical cooling rate to get the austenite, to get martensite from the austenite by diffusion-less transformation process. Okay, this is the hardening heat treatment process. Okay, this is very important part. Suppose this is your TTT diagram or IT diagram, okay, isothermal transformation or time temperature transformation diagram. Then you have critical cooling rate will just touch this. Okay, nodes. This is the nose of IT diagram. Then your cooling should lie in this region. Okay, in this region. Okay, it should be like this, or it should be like this. Means from this higher temperature zone, a rapid cooling is done to get the martensite structure. Okay, austenite is transferred to the martensite by diffusionless transformation. And cooling rate you have to select which exceeds the critical cooling rate. Exceeds means faster than this. Means with minimum time. If suppose critical cooling rate is here, means with suppose 10 minutes, then your time should be 9, 8 or 7 minutes, like that. It should be less than that. Okay, it should exceed the critical cooling rate. Means in lesser time you have to cool that sample, so that the whichever austenite is present, it will get transferred to the martensite phase, and we will get the very high hardness in that component. Okay, now the question will arise here, like some questions may be there. I will come to the diagram. You'll understand it in better way. Okay, yes. Here, whichever temperature zone I have used in the annealing, same temperature zone I'm going to use for the hardening also. Okay. Now, in annealing, we are doing the furnace cooling. In normalizing, we are doing the air cooling, and in hardening, we are doing the water cooling. Or it may be depending on the type of steel, it may be brine solution, cold water, oil, or air medium. Okay. Now the question arises here, as in the same way we have discussed that why annealing is not performed above this ACM temperature, like normalizing. Like normalizing, we are conducting above this ACM. Why then? Uh, Already I have explained that why annealing is not conducted above this ACM. In the same way, why the hardening is not conducted for hypereutectoid steel above ACM. This is ACM temperature line. Okay, this line. Why above this means why we are not using like this normalizing temperature zone for hypereutectoid steel to conduct the hardening. So reason for this is if you use for conducting the hardening of hypereutectoid steel above this ACM temperature line, then what will happen? Then at the higher temperature ranges, first is disadvantages, decarbonization. Okay, decarbonization, that is loss of carbon, and oxidation will occur. Then as in the hardening method, we are doing the rapid quenching or rapid cooling. Hence, due to the, if you cool the sample from very high temperature suddenly to the room temperature or below room temperature, then in that component distortion or some cracking may occur. Okay, distortion, cracking, or warpage may occur because from higher temperature zone, this is very high temperature. And from the, if you cooled it from that high temperature zone suddenly in cold water, then some warpage, cracking, or distortion may occur. And at this higher temperature zone, austenite, whichever grains of austenite are there, it will become coarse. Okay, its size will become larger and larger. And whichever martensite we are getting at room temperature, it will be very brittle in nature. Okay, hence, for conducting this hardening, we are not heating it above ACM for hypereutectoid steels. We are using the temperature zone for hypoeutectoid above A3 and for hypereutectoid above A1. Then the next question may arise here, why for this hypoeutectoid steel, why we cannot use above A1 in this region, why we cannot do heating in this region? Now, if you see in this region, ferrite and austenite phase is there, and this austenite will get transferred to the martensite after water quenching, but this ferrite will remain as it is at room temperature also. And this ferrite is soft phase, soft, malleable, and ductile phase. Hence, our aim of hardening is to improve the hardness and to increase the wear resistance and cutting ability. And as it is becoming soft, we will not able to achieve our aim. Hence, this region is not used. Means above A1 for hypoeutectoid steel, we are not going to use it. We are going to use above A3 for hypoeutectoid, and for hypereutectoid steel above A1. Okay, these are all the uh, some explanations or concepts. Now here, the if you used this region, now you can tell me like this: here austenite and fair cementite is there, whether it will affect this the properties of hardness. Okay, now if we are using for hypereutectoid steel in this region, these are hypereutectoid steels. If you used the above A1 temperature, here austenite and cementite is there, and this cementite, okay, this cementite will be uniformly distributed and fine at room temperature, and this is hard in nature. It improves the hardness. Hence, we can use this temperature. Okay, is this temperature zone can be used for hardening. So these are some some explanations related to the temperature zones, depending on that different processes, why we are using that temperature zone only. Okay, in this way I have explained it. I think this point should be very clear. And then we will move towards the next part, that is the types. The first type of the hardening is conventional hardening. Okay, as you can see clearly in this graph of this diagram I have indicated here. This is the simple diagram. Okay, this is a TTT diagram or IT diagram. Okay, you can draw this line continuously also. Okay, this is the hardening, but here this is the conventional hardening method. Whichever hardening we have conducted in our lab, we have taken the sample, we have heated it in the muffle furnace in the austenitic region. Okay, that is above A3 for hypoeutectoid steel and above A1 for hypereutectoid steel. Then after providing sufficient soaking time or holding time, after that we collected that sample and directly dipped into the water, quenched into the cold water. This is the conventional hardening. Now, due to this conventional hardening, we will get the martensite, and whichever martensite we have obtained, it will provide you very high hardness beyond our practical use. So that now here we have to do the tempering of that martensite. Okay, it is required to do the tempering. Somewhat reduction in hardness is done because this martensite will provide you very high hardness. Then this martensite, this component is again heated. Okay, again heated in the temperature zone somewhat above 100 to 200 degrees Celsius here, and it is kept at that temperature in 100 to 200 degrees Celsius temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and then it is slowly cooled in the air up to the room temperature. Okay, now this whole process means heating in the austenitic region, holding there for some period for soaking and to get homogeneous austenite, then cooling it, quenching it in the water, and again heating it up to 100 to 200 degrees Celsius for 1 to 2 hours and slowly cooling in the air. This whole cycle will be termed as conventional hardening followed by tempering. Okay, now what will be the output or what will be the microstructure at the end of this hardening plus tempering component? We will get the low carbon martensite here, which will provide you very good hardness. Low carbon martensite. Okay, or tempered martensite will be there. As we are conducting tempering, tempered martensite will be there. Okay, so this is the conventional hardening plus tempering. Now this conventional hardening plus tempering, this method can be used for medium different kind. It can be applied, these are the applications. It can be applied to medium carbon steels, high carbon steels, then your alloy steels, different kinds of alloy steels also. But this conventional hardening followed by tempering cannot be used for low carbon steels. We cannot use this hardening method, conventional hardening method on low carbon steels. We have to modify it, and that modification I will explain in the next type. Okay, here you have to remember that conventional hardening followed by tempering, we can perform it on medium carbon steel and on high carbon steel, and also we can do it on alloy steels. But for low carbon steel, we cannot go for this conventional hardening treatment process. Okay, now which medium we are going to use in the conventional hardening for medium carbon steels? For medium carbon steels, we are using cold water or brine solution as cooling medium. In case of high carbon steels, we are going to use oil as a cooling medium. And for alloy steels, okay, for alloy steels, as they are having very high percentage of carbon along with the other alloying elements, very high percentage of other alloying elements, we can do the hardening by air cooling also. Okay, means different mediums can be used depending on the type of steel. If it is a medium carbon steel, then we can use water or brine solution. And if it is high carbon steel, we can go for oil medium for quenching. And if it is alloy steel, then we can go for air medium also. But and conventional hardening cannot be performed on low carbon steel, because that low carbon steel will require a very faster cooling rate. Okay, very rapid cooling rate. We cannot obtain it here very easily. Now for that we are having some arrangements that I will explain in this next type. Second type of this hardening is timed quenching or interrupted hardening. Okay, this timed quenching or interrupted hardening applications I will explain. This can be used for low carbon steel. You can go for all types of steels here. You can go for low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, high carbon steel, alloy steels. Just you have to change the mediums. Okay, different mediums are used here. Now in this timed quenching or interrupted hardening, what we are doing here actually, now this the first two stages will be same. Okay, now here some 4 or 5 types I have explained about the hardening. Now the just drawn the graphs for the cooling medium. Okay, first two method stages will be same. The first is the heating that steel component in the austenitic region, that is above A3 for hypoeutectoid steel and above A1 for hypereutectoid steel by 50 degrees Celsius, and holding at that temperature for a few, depending on the shape and size of the component, the time will be varying. Okay, to get the homogeneous austenite and to get the equalization of temperature. And after that, the cooling will be done in different ways, and depending on that the way of cooling or mediums of the cooling, these types are made. The first we have discussed the conventional hardening followed by tempering. The second type is timed quenching or interrupted hardening method. In this timed quenching or interrupted hardening method, we are using two different cooling or quenching mediums. Now, suppose here I have shown the diagram which is for the cooling or quenching of the low carbon steel. Suppose low carbon steel is there. As that low carbon steel, it is almost non-hardenable steel. Very rapid quenching is required. Okay, very rapid quenching from that high temperature zone is required. But if whole quenching is done in the water, okay, what will happen? The distortion and cracking will be more, then internal stresses will be very high due to the thermal, that thermal stresses and internal stresses will get created. Okay, now initially I will take the sample from that austenitic region. I will heat it in the austenitic region, provide sufficient soaking time. Then I will collect that sample and I will directly dip it into the water. Okay, and very few, for very small period of time, I will dip it into the water. Then suddenly I will again remove it from that water medium and I will quench it in the oil medium. And this oil quenching will be continued till that component reaches to the room temperature. Okay. Now here, this water quenching, if it is a low carbon steel, this water quenching, you have to complete it within zero point 0.1 to 0.3 seconds time. 0.1 to 0.3 seconds time means very high reflexes are required here. Hence, controlling of this method is little bit on, means controlling is very difficult. But this can be done if you are able to do the, means control that water quenching time. 0.1 to 0.3 seconds for water quenching, and then it is quenched in the oil. And in this way we can do the hardening of low carbon steels also. Suppose this time quenching or interrupted hardening we are doing for medium carbon steels or high carbon steels, then the first medium will be oil quenching. First cooling medium is, or first quenching will be oil quenching, and then second quenching will be air quenching. Like this, for medium carbon, high carbon steels or low alloy steels, you can use this time quenching oil quenching and then for air quenching. And by changing the different mediums, this time quenching or interrupted hardening method can be used for different types like low carbon steel, medium carbon steel, high carbon steels, or another we can say the alloy steel also. Okay, so this is the second type of quenching. If you are having any doubt in these two types, please ask me. You can put that in the chat box. If all points are clear, please mention that in the chat box, and I will move towards the next type. Please let me know if no doubt is there. Can mention that all points are clear. I will move towards the next point. Okay. 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 Thank you for your quick reply. Now I will move towards the next type of this hardening. Okay. Okay. When the theoretical your descriptive examination was there, so before nowadays your online examination is only means you are answering the means your testing is done through online mode, but these questions are very repetitively asked, means they will ask you to draw the TTT diagram. Okay, here what I am doing, this is the TTT diagram. Forget this curve, remaining portion is TTT diagram. You have to draw TTT diagram. This curves means this horizontal line, this MF, MS, then this A1, A3, then this TTT diagram. Okay, in this regions austenite plus martensite and martensite. Then this curve, drawing this curve for this time quenching, this method is termed as you can say that superimposing. Okay, what will be the questions there? Just superimpose or impose the timed quenching method in TTT diagram. Means you have to draw TTT diagram and you have to show this quenching depending on the type. Okay. That type of descriptive questions was there. Means okay, now your examination is MCQ type only. They may ask you related to the applications, means for which hardening method can be used for which material, which mediums we are using. Mediums are very important here. Then temperature zones, then their end microstructures. Okay, here we are getting martensite. In conventional hardening, martensite is obtained, and conventional, if you are using conventional hardening plus tempering, then tempered martensite or low carbon martensite is there. Okay, if martensite only one option is there, martensite, then go for martensite. If low carbon martensite or tempered martensite is option is there, then conventional hardening plus tempering, you will get that tempered martensite. Here martensite you will get. Mediums used, if suppose low carbon steel hardening is done, in mediums used will be water and oil. Medium carbon steel or high carbon steel is there, then oil and air medium. Okay, like this different mediums will be there. Then the next is, after this timed quenching, the next type of hardening. Here I have drawn on the TTT diagram. I have imposed, this is superimposing or imposing the Mar tempering. This is the Mar tempering curve, Mar tempering cooling cycle. Okay, I am not showing here heating and holding cycle. Heating, then holding, and after that this cooling cycle is there. Okay, now in this Mar tempering or Mar quenching heat treatment process, for the type of this hardening, here from the name itself, MAR. Okay, MAR or this MAR in quenching, MAR. Okay, Why this this word indicates that at a room temperature the microstructure is or product is your martensite. Product obtained is martensite. Okay, now this mar tempering or mar quenching heat treatment process, it consists of initially that steel component is collected, then it is heated. Okay, it is heated above that A1 sorry A3 temperature line for hypoelectrified steel, and A3 temperature line for that A3 temperature line for the your hypereutectroid steels. Okay, then sorry, okay, heating cycle will be first stage. Then we are providing sufficient soaking or holding time to get the equalization of temperature and homogeneous austenite. Then now we are cooling that sample. Now while doing the cooling, what we are doing here, uh, we are doing the fast cooling. Okay, doing the fast cooling here in the first stage. We are doing the fast cooling. Let me know whether that slides are visible. Slides are visible or not. Please let me know that internet connection is slow, that note is coming here. Please give me reply in the chat box. Slides are visible, na? Is it visible? And changing also. Is it visible? Okay, please give me a reply in the chat box. The slides are clearly visible and my voice is audible. Okay, I will continue. Thank you for reply. Okay, now in this more tempering, what we are doing, initially we are doing the heating. Okay, heating is done. In the austenitic region, we are heating it. Then to get the equalization of temperature and homogeneous austenite, we are providing the holding time or soaking time. Then we are cooling that sample. Initially, it is cooled. Okay, cooled with little faster rate. Okay, with faster rate in the water, we are doing this first stage up to a temperature just below this nose temperature, just below. This is the nose temperature. This is the nose of this TTT diagram or IT diagram. Just below nose temperature and above this MS temperature, martensite formation start temperature. Above that MS and just below nose temperature, again we are holding that sample at some constant temperature for some definite period of time, and before it transferred to the binite, after keeping it there for depending on the shape and size for few minutes to few hours at this constant temperature for a definite period of time, we are again cooling it to the room temperature by in the oil or air medium. Okay, in the oil or air medium. Second time we are using oil or air medium. Here the final product obtained is martensite. Okay, finally we'll get the martensite. How we done the cooling? First, rapid cooling is done in the water medium just below nose temperature or just slightly above MS temperature. In this region, we held at that component at some point or some constant temperature for a definite period of time. Okay, before it crosses this IT diagram, then we suddenly cooled it in the water or air to get the martensite here. Okay, now this kind of mar tempering or mar quenching is used in high carbon steels or alloy steels. We are using this. Now why we are using this? Okay, initially water quenching, then some holding at that some constant temperature and then cooling in the oil or air medium. Why we are doing this? Because of the sudden quenching in the water from high temperature zones, in that component some cracking, warpage may occur. Okay, we will get the martensite only, means required hardness is obtained, and the chances of formation of cracking or cracks or development of some internal stresses, okay, some internal stresses are eliminated, because here we are keeping the sample at some lower temperature zone for some 1 or 2 hours, okay. Hence at the room temperature very less internal stresses will be there, and formation of cracks or distortion will be very less. Okay, this is the advantage of this Mar tempering method, and we can use it for high carbon steels or some alloy steels. This Mar tempering can be used. Then next is the os forming. Okay, this is the os forming hardening cycle I have shown in this diagram. Here again, first two stages: heating in the austenitic region, holding in that austenitic region for a definite period of time to get the equalization of temperature and homogeneous austenite. These two stages will be same: heating cycle, holding time or soaking time. Then we are doing the cooling. Now, initially we will do the fast cooling up to a temperature just below this nose temperature, in between nose temperature and MS temperature. Here in this region, we are performing one forging or rolling operation on that component. Okay, cooling is done, then one forging or rolling operation is done on that component, and then what we are doing here finally, after conducting the forging or rolling operation on that component, then that component is cooled in the oil medium to the room temperature. Okay, this is termed as os forming. Okay, because on this austenite, here austenite is there, and on that austenite, here also austenite is there. On this austenite, we are performing some forming processes like rolling or forging we are conducting here. That's why this process is termed as os forming. Okay, and after some specific period of conducting the rolling or forging operation, we are cooling it to the room temperature in the oil medium to get the martensite, and this martensite will provide you the required hardness. Okay, if you are having any doubt, you can ask me. Please let me know whether any doubt is there. Between this martensing and os forming. This is martensing. This is os forming. More 2-3 more types are there. Please try to understand it clearly. Okay, forging or rolling means sorry. Yes, can. Okay, now I'm visible. Yes, The question is forging or rolling. Yes, this is, I think you have studied these operations in your manufacturing processes, same operations we are conducting. Okay, after doing this initial cooling, okay, suppose we are using it in the water cooling, that component is collected and some rolling operation by using different two rolls. In between that two rolls, we are doing some forming process there. Slight forming operation is done. Forming or some deformation will occur during that rolling or forging. It is very much similar, very means similar processes of your manufacturing. Okay, forging or rolling, that slight operation is conducted, and then again it is cooled in the oil medium. Okay, now okay, yes, related to the applications. Okay, this mar tempering, then this os forming, and this os tempering. These heat treatment processes we are using, or hardening processes, this one, where temperature zone is in this range, we are using it for medium carbon and high carbon steels. The medium carbon and high carbon steels or alloy steels also. Okay, now this is the os tempering. Here again, the first cycle is the heating cycle, heating the steel in the austenitic region and holding there for sufficient time uh, for getting the homogeneous austenite and to obtain equalization of temperature. Then it is cooled. Now here during the cooling, okay, here during the cooling, initially it is cooled up to a temperature just below the nose temperature and above ms temperature zone. In this region we are cooling it. Okay, now, and after that, here we are holding that sample for a very longer period of time, and whichever austenite is present in this austenite will get transferred to the bainite. Okay, austenite will get transferred to the bainite. As we are holding at this temperature for a very longer period of time, this austenite will get transferred to the upper bainite or lower bainite. If lower bainite is obtained, then as compared to upper bainite, it will give you the more hardness. Okay, and then again we are doing the cooling up to the room temperature. This cooling is very slow. We can go for air medium also here. Okay, your final product obtained or microstructure obtained will be of bainite. It may be upper bainite or it may be lower bainite. Okay, as we have provided a very long duration here, whichever austenite is present, it will get transferred to the bainite. Okay, in this os tempering, bainite is obtained. Okay, this has means very little hardness on the little lower side if you compare it with the Martin side. Yeah, but it will provide you the required hardness. Okay, this is the advantage. Whichever bainite is there, it may be a lower bainite or upper bainite depending on the time provided. Okay, lower bainite will be obtained with the less time, and if you are providing more time, then upper bainite will be there. Sometimes if you provide a longer, very long duration, then instead of getting bainite, you may end up with the pearlite also. Okay, so this is the os tempering heat treatment cycle, or this is os tempering hardening process. Now, just only one disadvantage is there for this process. That disadvantage will be like this, means as we are having or we are providing very longer period of time here, holding time in this region is very long. Hence, what will happen here? Mm, Means as it is a time consuming method, it will become very time consuming method, and it is a very expensive method. Okay, it requires more time, and as more time is there, more cost is required, or this method is little bit expensive. Okay, this was tempering heat treatment process. And then After this, we will move towards the next type. Okay, if whether any doubt is there to this point. Okay. If no doubt is there, we will move towards the next type. Okay, these two diagrams I have added in the same slide. And this is a patenting heat treatment process and isoforming heat treatment process. Now, first two stages will be same. That is the heating the component in the austenitic region, holding there for equalization of temperature and to get the homogeneous austenite, then cooling it. Now we are cooling it, cooling it up to the nose temperature. Okay, up to nose temperature it is cooled. Then at that nose temperature, we are holding that sample for longer duration, and then we are cooling it in the suitable medium depending on our need. Okay, depending on our need, we can use the oil medium or air medium depending on our need here. Now here to keep this, okay, whenever we are keeping the this constant temperature for very few minutes or few hours or very long period of time, we are keeping that sample in the molten salt baths. Okay, whichever salt baths mixture I have told you, for heating purposes we are using different that is sodium chloride, calcium chloride, then sodium nitrite, sodium nitrate, potassium nitrate. Like this mixture of different salts is there. Depending on their temperature range, the different salt mixtures are used. Whenever we are using or keeping that sample at some temperature, constant temperature for some period of time, means they are kept in the molten salt baths. Okay, here also in that molten salt bath, we are keeping the sample for some period of time, and here we are providing some longer duration so that whichever austenite is present here, austenite, it will get transferred to the perlite. Okay, and then it is cooled depending on our properties needed. It is cooled up to the room temperature. Now here in this patenting, this temperature zone is very near to the nose temperature, very near to nose temperature. That's why we will get the perlite. That perlite may be coarse perlite or it may be a fine perlite. Okay, in previous cases, here this temperature, this holding temperature, here also we have used that molten salt bath, but holding temperature is very near to this martensite transformation start, and we have kept the longer period. Then we will end up with the binites. It may be upper binite or lower binite, but here in these cases, just above this ms, here we will get the martensite at the end. Okay, but here as longer duration is given, we will get the binite here. And if you keep the sample at nose temperature for longer period of time, then you will end up with the perlite. Above, in the above region, we will get the austenite will get transferred to the perlite. Okay. In the below region, if you provide the longer time duration, then it will give you the binite. Okay. Here we will get the perlite as longer duration is provided. Then that perlite may be, you can say, it may be coarse perlite or fine perlite. Okay. And in the last isoforming heat treatment cycle, the first two stages will be same. That austenitic in the sample, steel sample is heated in the austenitic region, then some soaking or holding time is provided for equalization or equalization of temperature and to obtain homogeneous austenite. Then it is cooled to just above the nose temperature. In this region, it is cooled. Here we are performing one rolling or forging operation again. Okay, now here the rolling or forging operation performed for a longer period of time. Okay, for a longer period of time, this operation is performed and then it is cooled to the room temperature. Hence, as we have provided longer duration near the nose temperature zone, we will end up with getting the perlite. Okay, we will get the perlite here, and here, as in these two cases, perlite is obtained. We will end up as if fine perlite is obtained, then ductility and toughness of that component is improved or it increases in this case. Means tensile strength is also obtained, means hardness or tensile strength is obtained with little bit ductility and toughness. Okay. So this is the isoforming and this is the patenting heat treatment cycle. These are these last three types, you can consider it in the other heat treatment processes. Okay, os tempering, then this patenting and isoforming, because here perlite is obtaining, perlite and bainite. These os forming, mar tempering, then time quenched and conventional hardening, you can consider these four as hardening types. Okay, conventional hardening, then interrupted or time quenched hardening, mar tempering and os forming. These four you can consider as types of the hardening, and these are some other heat treatment processes where we are not getting the monotensite, but desired properties are obtained by using different mediums. Okay, here bainite is obtained, and in these two cases perlite is obtained. Out of these two cases, in isoforming, fine perlite is there, finer perlite is obtained. Okay, in this way this hardening heat treatment process is completed along with some different special heat treatment processes. Now the next heat treatment process is the tempering heat treatment process. Okay. If you have any doubt, if any doubt is there, please let me know. Only few students are replying me. What about other students? Okay, only one or two students are giving replies. Okay, this chapter is very important, heat treatment of steel. Okay. Okay, now we will move towards the next heat treatment process, that is the tempering. Okay, now after hardening, we saw that in the after completing the hardening, here means from high temperature zone, we are directly collecting the sample and quenching it in the water. Now, as the sudden due to the sudden temperature change or this very high gap is there in this temperature change, that's why the internal stresses will get created. Okay, in that component, some internal stresses will get developed, and if you use that component with that internal stresses in the practical life or in your actual use, it may get failed or some cracking may occur. Okay, to avoid this means you have to eliminate or relieve these internal stresses. Okay, and for this the tempering heat treatment process is conducted. First, initial aim of this tempering is to relieve the internal stresses developed in the component and due to the cooling of steels during the hardening process. Then the second aim of conducting this process, tempering heat treatment process, is to reduce its hardness. Okay, to reduce its hardness and to provide or to increase some ductility and toughness. Okay, as in the hardening heat treatment process, whichever austenite is there, we have transferred that austenite in the martensite. That martensite is very having very high hardness, means to get the hardness along with little bit ductility, that hardened component is followed by the tempering to eliminate internal stresses, to increase some toughness, and to eliminate the retained austenite. What is the meaning of this retained austenite? Okay, when we are heating the component in austenitic region and giving some soaking time or holding time, 100% austenite is formed, homogeneous austenite is formed. And after the cooling at room temperature, after cooling to the room temperature, if still some amount of austenite is present at the room temperature, after cooling it from high temperature zone or from austenitic region to the room temperature, if some amount of austenite is still present, that austenite is termed as a retained austenite. This retained austenite is in a more quantity or higher quantity, then it decreases the hardness of the component. It means properties, mechanical properties will become inferior of that component. Hence, the elimination of this retained austenite is very important. Okay, and this can be done by conducting tempering heat treatment process. Okay, now after this, the next we will move towards the next point, to how to conduct this tempering. Now, the tempering process is conducted here. This tempering process again, it consists of three stages as a like the same general heat treatment cycle. First process will be heating cycle, then holding time or soaking time, and then cooling time. Okay. Now generally, what will be the temperature zone or heating zone for conducting this tempering heat treatment process? Generally, we are heating the component. Okay, generally this tempering is done after conduction of hardening. Okay, because that component will become more hard and some internal stresses are there. Okay, to eliminate that internal stresses and to make it more soft for further use or further heat treatment processes, we are doing the tempering. Now we are collecting that sample. Okay, that steel sample is collected after the hardening, then it is again heated in a temperature zone between 100 to 700 degrees Celsius. It, temperature zone cannot exceed the A1 temperature line. Okay, eutectoid transformation temperature line, we cannot use the temperature above it. We are using the temperature below that, above 100 degrees Celsius and below 700 degrees Celsius. In this temperature zone, this component is heated, and this heating is done depending on the shape and size of the component. Generally, we are using or holding time used in this tempering is 1 to 2 hours for equalization of the temperature. Here our aim is to get the equalization of the temperature. Okay, now after providing sufficient holding time or soaking time here, after that, that component is slowly cooled to the room temperature. Here we are using the slow cooling method. In quenching, we are using the rapid cooling, depending on the types. Air, oil, or water mediums can be used. But here, in case of tempering, very slow cooling is done, and generally this cooling is done in the air medium because we want to improve the ductility and eliminate the internal stresses. Okay, hence it is cooled to the room temperature in the air medium, and after this tempering process is completed. Now, depending on the temperature zones used, okay, depending on the temperature zones used or transformations occurring in that temperature zones, the tempering methods are classified in three different types. Okay, three different types are there for this tempering methods, and that three different types will be like this: low temperature tempering, medium temperature tempering, and high temperature tempering. Now, the tempering which is conducted in the temperature zone of 100 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius, that is known as low temperature tempering. Then the tempering which is conducted in the temperature zone of 200 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius, it is termed as medium temperature tempering. And the tempering, the last and the third type, the high temperature tempering, which is conducted in the temperature zone 500 degrees Celsius to 700 degrees Celsius temperature zone. Now, what exactly happens in this three different temperature temperings that I will explain, means what happens in low during low temperature tempering, in medium temperature tempering, and high temperature tempering. I will explain it one by one. Please listen me carefully, because for this explanation I have not added any slide here. Please listen it carefully. In low temperature tempering, okay, we will take the sample, we will heat it in the 100 to 200 degrees Celsius temperature zone. We will keep hold it at that temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and we will slowly cool it to the room temperature. Now what will happen in this low temperature tempering? Now, whichever martensite is present after hardening, martensite is throughout martensite we have observed that martensite will be formed after the hardening treatment process. That martensite will be formed after the hardening treatment process, and okay. Now, during this low temperature tempering, whichever martensite is there, that martensite during this low temperature tempering, it will get break. Okay, it will get break, and that martensite will form low carbon martensite or tempered martensite. Plus some carbides will be formed. That carbides are termed as transition carbides. Okay, what happening here? What is happening in low temperature tempering? Whichever martensite is formed after the hardening treatment process during low temperature tempering, that martensite breaks or decomposes to form low temperature martensite, which is termed as tempered martensite, and some transition carbides are formed. Now, due to this process, what will happen? And so slow cooling, whichever internal stresses are there, whichever internal stresses are there, which are caused due to the quenching in the hardening treatment process, that internal stresses will get completely, these internal stresses will be eliminated. A very minimum, a very small amount may remain, but almost all internal stresses will get eliminated in this low temperature tempering due to formation of that low temperature martensite or tempered martensite. Now, in the second type, that is medium temperature tempering, what will happen here in medium temperature tempering? uh, I have already told you the low temperature tempering, that process will occur here. Means martensite will decompose and it will form low temperature martensite, and some transition carbides will be formed. And again, one process will occur, that whichever martensite is there, it will decompose that low temperature martensite. Okay. Low temperature martensite, it will again decompose. Initially, what will happen? Martensite forms low temperature martensite, that is tempered martensite, and some transition carbides. Okay, means carbides which are formed at that higher temperature zones. During that transition period, carbides are formed that are termed as transition carbides. Then that low temperature martensite will decompose and it forms ferrite and cementite mixture. Okay, what they will form? Ferrite and cementite mixture. And hence, due to formation of that ferrite, the ductility, that material will become soft and ductility or toughness is increased. And whichever amount of retained austenite is there, suppose any retained austenite is there, that will also get eliminated in this medium temperature tempering. Means austenite, which is present at room temperature, it will get transferred to the ferrite and cementite mixture. Okay, means in medium temperature tempering, retained austenite is eliminated, internal stresses are completely eliminated, and martensite or whichever austenite is there, they will give the mixture of ferrite and cementite, and that ferrite will provide you the increased toughness or ductility in that material. This is the medium temperature tempering. Now the third type of the tempering method is high temperature tempering. Now this high temperature tempering is conducted this way, that is, first is the heating cycle. Component is collected and it is heated in the temperature zone 500 to 700 degrees Celsius temperature zone. Holding time provided here is approximately 1 to 2 hours. It varies depending on the shape and size of the component and the composition of that material component. And then after sufficient holding, it is slowly cooled in the air medium. Now what happens during this high temperature tempering? All processes which are happened in medium temperature tempering, that will occur here. Okay, means retained austenite will get eliminated, then internal stresses will get eliminated, then martensite will get transferred to low temperature martensite and some transition carbides, and that low temperature martensite again transferred to ferrite and cementite mixture. At room temperature, ferrite and cementite will be obtained. Then what further changes will occur here? Whichever cementite is there in this medium temperature tempering, uh, that in high temperature tempering, it will become spherical in nature. Okay, it will become spherical in nature. Hence, that will be that spherical cementite will be termed, if it is visible under the microscope, it is termed as spheroidite. Okay, if it is visible under microscope, it is spheroidite. And if it is not visible, some part will not be visible or identified, cannot be identified under the microscope, then that will be termed as sorbite. Okay, it is only cementite, spherical cementite which is visible, it is termed as spheroidite, and if it is not visible, it is termed as sorbite. These are the some important terms. And a remaining amount will be tempered martensite. Okay, tempered martensite. Some amount of tempered martensite will be there in this high temperature tempering. Okay, means that it consists of ferrite plus cementite. And cementite is globular or spherical in nature. Hence, the more toughness will be obtained in high temperature tempering by eliminating the internal stresses which are there in the component due to the hardening. Means which are our aims, that all aims will be obtained. Means internal stresses will be relieved, hardness will be reduced, and ductility and toughness is increased, and retained austenite is completely eliminated during this. Okay, retained austenite can be eliminated by this high temperature tempering. Okay, so in this way, these are three types of this tempering methods depending on the transformations occurring or temperature zones, as low temperature, medium temperature, and high temperature tempering. Now there is one graph I have added here that will indicate the effect on the properties of the steel depending on the tempering temperature. Okay, now this is one graph I have added here, which shows you the impact on the properties during impact on the properties like hardness. I have plotted here. This is the hardness, then toughness, and the internal stresses depending on tempering temperature. Okay, here you can see internal stresses. Whenever temperature zone is above this 100, above 100, means in all types of tempering methods, the internal stresses are completely eliminated in low temperature, medium temperature, and high temperature tempering. But in low temperature tempering, toughness is not achieved. Means hardness is not decreased or toughness is not improved. But when you go for medium temperature tempering or high temperature tempering, there hardness is decreased by significant amount and toughness is increased. Means in high temperature tempering, we will able to achieve the highest toughness or ductility, and hardness is in decreased by significant amount there. Okay, so this is the effect of tempering temperature on the properties like internal stresses, hardness and toughness. As tempering temperature increases, internal stresses decreases, suddenly it decrease above 100 degrees Celsius. Then toughness will improve gradually as tempering temperature improves and it reaches to its peak value at above 500 degrees Celsius. Then hardness decreases gradually as tempering temperature is increasing and it reaches some constant value at 500 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now there is one concept of secondary hardening. Okay, now in some alloys, what is the secondary hardening? While during the tempering process, if suppose you are doing the tempering on the alloy steels and that alloy steel contains some alloying elements. Okay, you can see in this picture. Okay, some alloying elements are there in your alloy steel like chromium, tungsten, vanadium, molybdenum are there. Then hardness of that particular steel, that alloy steel will increase during the tempering. Why this hardness increases? Because of these elements like chromium, tungsten, vanadium, molybdenum. They will get separated and they will form the hard or complex alloy carbides. Means these will combine with the carbon at high temperatures and they will form their respective carbides. And okay, and due to the formation of that carbide, suddenly what will happen? Hardness will get increased. Hardness will get increased. This is termed as secondary hardening effect. Now, this secondary hardening, such steels retain their hardness at high temperatures, also up to 600 degrees Celsius, as compared to plain carbon steels, which are able to retain their hardness values up to 300 degrees Celsius only. Okay. So after this tempering, then secondary hardening. Okay, there is one concept, auto tempering is there. Means in some kind of steels or in some steel materials, suppose low carbon steels are there, means their martensite formation start temperature is very low. Sometimes it is below room temperature also. Okay, means during the formation of martensite only, during the formation of martensite process, tempering is occurring. During martensite transformation only, the tempering process will occur without any specific heating cycle or cooling cycle. That will be termed as auto tempering. Okay, auto tempering. During the martensite transformation, only tempering will also occur. That will be termed as auto tempering. And this is the secondary hardening. During the tempering process, if there are some hard elements like chromium, tungsten, vanadium, they will form their respective carbides and hardness will get increased. That will be termed as secondary hardening. Okay. So after this, the next term is retained austenite. Retained austenite, I have explained it. What is the meaning of retained austenite or untransformed austenite? And it's now in this we are going to discuss their effects. And what is the meaning of retained austenite? That I will explain. Then what are the effects of retained austenite on the properties of steel, and how to eliminate it if it is providing more defects than the use. Then how to eliminate that retained austenite, that I will discuss here in this today's session only. If you are having any difficulty in this today's part, I have finished the hardening heat treatment method along with its types, then tempering heat treatment method along with its types. If any doubt is there in the hardening and tempering heat treatment process, please let me know. I will clarify it and then I will start the retained austenite. Or if any no doubt is there, you can put that message in the chat box so that I can continue. Start this point. Okay, now this is the next point, and that is retained austenite or untransformed austenite. Okay, now what is the meaning of this retained austenite or untransformed austenite? Okay, as in the previous heat treatment processes, we have discussed uh, that we are means first we are doing the heating cycle, then we are providing the holding time, and there we are getting homogeneous austenite. And by using the different quenching mediums, we are transforming that austenite to the martensite, bainite, or perlite. But in case of hardening, we have discussed that we are transferring or transforming that austenite to the martensite. But in some cases, or in the hardening heat treatment process, after its completion of hardening heat treatment process, along with our martensite, some amount of austenite may be there at room temperature conditions also. That austenite is termed as a retained austenite. Okay, why there is a retained austenite is there? Because whichever quenching temperature we have used, that quenching temperature is not sufficient for getting the 100% martensite from that austenite. Means some amount will remain, austenite amount will remain as it is when you do the quenching at the room temperature. That will be termed as a retained austenite or untransformed austenite. Okay, now the amount of this retained austenite, it varies from means the region of that components. Okay, if you check on the surface of that component, the quantity of retained austenite will be very less at the surface or near to the surface. Retained austenite is very less, but at the center, if you check at the center, then amount of retained austenite is more at the center. Okay. Now, the amount of retained austenite, it depends on the quenching temperature. If higher quenching temperature is there, then if you are cooling it from very high temperature, then the retained austenite will be also very high. Means depending on the temperature, if you are heated with very high temperature zone and you have suddenly quenched it, then amount of retained austenite will be more in that case. Hence, means this amount of retained austenite, it depends on the quenching temperature used. Okay, higher the quenching temperature, larger will be the amount of retained austenite. Now this retained austenite has some effects. These are effects of retained austenite, and these effects may be on the positive side or on the negative side also. There are some positive effects of this retained austenite. Uh, what are that positive effects? Due to that retained austenite, okay, uh, what will happen? It reduces the tendency of a cracking during the hardening. Okay, you can say that, as it is, this austenite is soft in nature. You all know that this austenite is soft, malleable, and ductile phase. And due to this presence of austenite, what will happen? Tendency of the cracking during the hardening process, it will decrease. And maximum 10% retained austenite is suitable for this purpose, means to reduce the tendency of cracking during the hardening treatment process. Then another advantage of this retained austenite, that is, if the amount of retained austenite is 30 to 40%, okay, we can do the heat treatment. Sorry, we can do the some cold working operations. We can do some cold working operations on that component without any cracking. Okay, due to the increase in ductility or softness, due to presence of that austenite, we can do the different cold working operations on it. Then what are the means disadvantages of this? This retained austenite has more disadvantages. Okay, and this retained austenite, as it is a soft phase, it reduces the hardness of hardened steel. We are conducting the hardening to improve the hardness and cutting ability of that material or steel. But due to presence of this retained austenite, what will happen? The hardness of that steel will get decreased. Okay. Then small amount of this retained austenite, what will happen? It increases the brittleness of the steel. How it is increases the brittleness of the steel? Whichever retained austenite is there, it will get transferred to the martensite by plastic deformation. If retained austenite is there, then it will get transferred to the martensite by some plastic deformation, and due to this process, internal stresses are increased, and hence that material will become brittle, or steel will become brittle. Okay, and then some. Okay, now these are related to the transformation. That austenite will decrease the hardness. Then, if that austenite get transferred to martensite, it will increase the brittleness due to increase in the internal stresses. And if that retained austenite is transformed into bainite, then it results in the linear expansion of steel. Means dimensional changes will occur in that steel material. So these are the disadvantages of some effects of, we can say, the effects of retained austenite. Now, to avoid this reduction in hardness, or some increase in the brittleness, or some change in the or linear expansion in the of that steel material, the elimination of this retained austenite is very necessary. And the elimination of this retained austenite is done in three different ways. The first elimination method is cold treatment, which is also known as sub-zero treatment. Then second is plastic deformation. Okay, plastic deformation of uh, the austenite. And third is the tempering. Already we have discussed this. I'll repeat it in short way. Now we will discuss these methods. Now, what is the cold treatment for the elimination of this retained austenite? Okay, three different methods. Out of that, this is the very important method: cold treatment or sub-zero treatment. Now, what we are doing here, the steel components. Okay, the steel components. Why the very basic reason for formation or this retained austenite is their martensite transformation start or finish temperature. Finish temperature is below room temperature. Hence, we have to cool it below room temperature. Hence, to obtain that and to eliminate the retained austenite, this cold treatment or sub-zero treatment is necessary. Here, we are cooling that steel component below martensite finish, or martensite formation finished temperature by using suitable medium according to the temperature requirement. We can use the different mediums. Suppose we are using ice plus salt medium, it provides minus 23 degrees Celsius temperature. We can use ice plus calcium chloride, it will give you minus 55 degrees Celsius. Then liquid air, it will give minus 183 degrees Celsius temperature. Then acetone plus dry ice, it will give minus 76 degrees Celsius. Then liquid nitrogen, it will give minus 196 degrees Celsius. In liquid hydrogen, it will give you minus 253 degrees Celsius temperature. In liquid helium, it will give minus 269 degrees Celsius temperature zone. Now, the sub-zero treatment should be performed immediately after hardening process, as early as means if you are able to do it as fast as possible, then it is effective. Because if you give the time after hardening a treatment process, that austenite will get stabilized very fastly, it will get stabilized and it will remain as it is. Okay, that's why the sub-zero treatment is performed immediately after the hardening process, and that component is cooled below the room temperature. Generally, it is cooled below its MF temperature, that is martensite formation finished temperature. Using different mediums depending on the temperature requirement, we can use different mediums. Then for this is applicable for different kinds of tool steels or die steels. Okay, this cold treatment or sub-zero treatment of elimination of retained austenite is used for elimination of retained austenite in hardened components like tool steels and die steels. Now, one precaution you have to take in this cold treatment of sub-zero treatment is that to avoid cracking on hardened steel components. Now, what we are doing here, before doing the cold treatment process, or before cooling it to very low temperature, that component we are doing low temperature tempering. Okay, low temperature tempering is done at 150 degrees Celsius to 175 degrees Celsius. Initially, low temperature tempering is done, and then it is subjected to the cold treatment process, that is cooling below room temperature or below MF temperature using suitable medium. And during this cooling at a very low temperature, whichever retained austenite is there, it gets eliminated. And this is applied for tool steel or die steel. And then the next elimination of retained austenite, next method is the plastic deformation. Okay, now generally this method, the retained elimination method, used for the high carbon steels or low carbon or medium carbon high alloy steels. We are using this method for elimination of retained austenite. Now in this plastic deformation, what we are doing, the plastic deformation of austenite is done. We are simply doing the plastic deformation. Whichever retained austenite is there, we are doing the plastic deformation on that. And due to this, what will happen? Martensitic transformation is induced or accelerated. Plastic deformation is performed on the austenite, which induces the martensitic transformation. Hence, this phenomenon is termed as deformation induced martensitic transformation or strain induced martensitic transformation. Okay, this is the another way to eliminate retained austenite. Simply, whichever retained austenite is there, plastic deformation is performed, and due to this, that retained austenite is transferred to the martensite, and this phenomenon is termed as deformation or strain induced martensitic transformation. And the temperature, that corresponding temperature is denoted by this MD. Okay, that corresponding temperature is MD, that is temperature at which deformation induced martensitic transformation starts. MD, temperature at which deformation, this D stands for deformation induced martensitic transformation starts. And the examples: high carbon steels, the low and medium carbon high alloy steels. Okay. And generally, this plastic deformation is done above ms temperature. Okay, it is done above ms temperature. Okay, this is the second method of elimination of retained austenite by doing the plastic deformation of the austenite. Then the third method, is tempering. By doing the tempering method, we can eliminate the retained austenite. This tempering consists of heating the hardened steel to a temperature just below A1. Okay, then providing some holding time of 1 to 2 hours and cooling it to the room temperature. Okay, now this tempering will eliminate the retained austenite from the steel. Now, by using this tempering, small as well as a large amount of retained austenite can be eliminated from steel component. Okay, tempering, already we have discussed this. You have to go for medium temperature or high temperature tempering to achieve this aim, that is to eliminate the retained austenite. During low temperature tempering, retained austenite is not eliminated. You have to go for either medium or high temperature tempering, means above 200 to 700 degrees Celsius component is heated, and that component is held at that temperature for 1 to 2 hours, and then it is slowly cooled in the air, and that retained austenite will get eliminated during this tempering heat treatment process. Okay, now in this way this tempering is also completed. Now the last point from this chapter is there, it is surface or case hardening. It will take 1 or 2 hours to complete. A very different types are there in surface hardening or case hardening heat treatment processes are there. If any doubt is there in this today's part which I have completed, first let me know whether any doubt is there in what is the meaning of retained austenite or untransformed austenite, then the effects of retained austenite, then their elimination methods like cold treatment, sub-zero or sub-zero treatment, or plastic deformation or tempering. Okay, please let me know if any doubt is there. Today I have completed the hardening along with its type, then tempering, its types, retained austenite, its effect, and elimination methods. If any doubt is there, please let me know. I will clarify it. Any doubt, let me know. If no doubts are there, if all points are clear, you can mention that also. All points are clear so that I can stop this session. Okay, if no doubts are there, okay, please put your roll numbers for attendance purpose. Okay. Within 1 or 2 minutes, I will summarize today's session. In this today's session, we have completed the hardening heat treatment process. The hardening heat treatment process is used for increasing the hardness to the maximum level by transforming austenite to martensite. And along with the increase in hardness, the hardening is done to increase the wear resistance and cutting ability of the steel. To do the hardening, the conventional hardening is done by following these 3 stages. Heating, this heating zone will remain same for all types of conventional hardening. That is heating above A3 temperature for hypoeutectoid steel and above A1 for hypereutectoid steels by 50 degrees Celsius. Then holding time or soaking time is provided to get homogeneous austenite and equalization of temperature. To get homogeneous austenite, then it is cooled in the water by exceeding a cooling rate which is more than critical cooling rate of that steel, so that we will get that austenite will get transformed to martensite by diffusionless process. Then depending on the different quenching mediums used, conventional hardening has different types like this hardening has different types like conventional hardening plus tempering, then time quenched or interrupted hardening, where we are using 2 different mediums for quenching. Suppose low carbon steel, we are using water quenching and oil quenching. Now, if medium carbon steel is there, then oil or air medium can be used simultaneously. Then in tempering, we are getting martensite at room temperature, and in os forming, we are again here getting martensite, but some rolling operation is conducted above ms temperature and below nose temperature. Then other treatment processes like os tempering, patenting, and isoforming we have discussed. Here we are getting bainite at lower temperatures because we have provided some constant temperature just above ms and below nose temperature. Lower bainite or upper bainite is obtained. Then in patenting, initially we are cooling it just below the nose temperature and holding there for longer period of time. We are holding this in the molten salt bath mixture for longer period of time. Hence, the austenite is transferred to the coarse perlite or fine perlite. At room temperature, we'll get that coarse or fine perlite. Then in the isoforming, here just above the nose temperature, we are conducting one forming operation, due to which we will get the fine perlite and improved ductility and toughness at the room temperature conditions. This is termed as isoforming. Then the after hardening, there are internal stresses due to rapid quenching or rapid cooling, and to eliminate that, it may cause cracks or failure of the component. To eliminate that internal stresses by increasing its ductility and toughness by reducing the hardness, the tempering heat treatment process is conducted. Another aim of this tempering is to eliminate the retained austenite, and this tempering is done by heating. It consists of heating cycle, heating the component in the range 100 to 700 degrees Celsius just below A1 temperature zone, and holding there for 1 to 2 hours and cooling the component in the air medium slowly, to get the improved ductility and toughness by eliminating retained austenite and internal stresses. This tempering is conducted depending on the transformations occurring and temperature zone used. Tempering is classified in low temperature tempering, medium temperature tempering, and high temperature tempering. Okay, this we have discussed in brief. Then this is the effect of tempering temperatures on the properties like hardness, toughness, and internal stresses of the component. As tempering temperature is increasing, the internal stresses will decrease. Then with increasing temperature, with increasing tempering temperature, toughness will gradually increase and hardness will gradually decrease. There is a one type of tempering, that is auto tempering. When the martensite formation start temperature, finish temperature is very low, And during the martensite formation only, automatically in low carbon steel, tempering is occurring. That will be termed as auto tempering. And there is secondary hardening. In case during this tempering process, if we are doing this tempering process on alloy steels and it contains some hard elements like chromium, tungsten, then molybdenum, vanadium, then they form their alloy carbides, which are very hard in nature, and they increases the hardness. This is termed as secondary hardening, and this hardness will be retained at high temperature ranges up to 600 degrees Celsius if you compare them with the plain carbon steel, which are able to keep their hardness up to 300 degrees Celsius only. So this is the schematic representation of effect of temperature on hardness of alloy steels. Then the retained austenite or untransformed austenite. Austenite that does not transform to martensite during the quenching is termed as retained austenite. Its effect, it will reduce the hardness, it will increase the brittleness when this austenite transform to martensite by plastic deformation, or it may give some linear expansions in the steel if that retained austenite transferred to the bayanite. So that it is very necessary to eliminate this retained austenite, and we can eliminate this by cold treatment of sub-zero treatment. Before conducting this sub-zero treatment, some soft or low temperature tempering is done at 150 to 175 degrees Celsius to avoid cracking of the component, and different using different temperature mediums depending on the need. We are cooling the component below MF temperature. This is used for tool steels and die steels. And plastic deformation of austenite can be done, which is termed, this phenomenon is termed as deformation induced martensitic transformation. Due to this, austenite is removed. It can be done on high carbon steels or low carbon high alloy steels or medium carbon high alloy steels. And tempering, we can do medium temperature or high temperature tempering to eliminate small or large amount of retained austenite from the steel component. Tempering is also done. In this way, in this today's session, we have completed hardening heat treatment process along with its different types, and tempering heat treatment process along with its different types. Then we have understood the concept of auto tempering, secondary hardening, and other heat treatment processes like patenting, isoforming. Okay. Then we have discussed the what is the meaning of retained austenite, what are the effects of retained austenite, and different elimination methods that can be used for elimination of retained austenite, like sub-zero treatment. Sub-zero treatment is very important, and then plastic deformation and tempering. Okay, if all points are clear. Okay, some question. Okay, I am not. Okay, now I will close this if no doubts are there and present is done. One question is there. I'm not getting this. It is clearly what you are saying. Some knives we see patterns are making how it is done. I'm not getting this question clearly. Could you please clarify it, or you can ask it in the next session. Okay. If you are there in the meeting, I'm not getting that question clearly. Okay. Okay, I will stop here. You can ask that question later also. I'm not getting that. Please ask it. If you are there, please ask it clearly, or I will clear it later. Okay. Now, at this instant, I will close this session. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending this session. Okay, thank you.